Yeah, I sent most of it, but someone went. Okay, Shikar. You were holding on Kuf Samachtes 169. It's 5 lines from the bottom. Yeah, 5 lines from the bottom. But we're going to start at the words Lichtev Lahai Shtara. Lichtev Lahai Shtara Ma'alya. Okay, thank Hashem that you're able to learn Torah every day. It's chus of learning. We have the base of English immediately. Learning the Nishma Savagol Basra Daf and so a first name of Rabbi Ben Sar and Gedali gets all that's what things from my father. So Ben Miriam Adel. Okay. So we're talking about a guy that lost his document and he wants to replace it, so he gets a new document. Problem is that with the new document he can do some fraud with this new document. He can confiscate a property from the same purchaser that he purchased from, because someone takes away his field. So the way that he confiscates the next person's field to get repaid for the field that was taken away is that he has to give his document to that person to be able to collect the money from the original seller. So if he has 2 documents, so he can do it to one person, and then he can do it to another person. So we're holding now. The Gemara said, so because of that, the Brisa said before, the Tanur Rabbanan on the last page said, therefore the second document we don't write with achrayas, with a guarantee. Second document just says that this property belongs to you, but it doesn't say that you can use it to confiscate another property. There's no guarantee. Okay, so the Gemara asks, why are we doing that? Why are we not giving this person a proper document that says that he can use it to guarantee, like a warranty or something, that he can, if something happens, he can go back and take a property from the seller. Why are we not doing that? Let's write him a real document. And then you're worried that he's going to use now he has 2 documents. The original document is going to resurface. Plus he has the copy, and he's going to do some corruption over there. We can write a document for the meicher. We could write a tavra, means a shaver. We could write a receipt for the seller, and the receipt is going to say, Kol shtari diyafkan al arada psulin. All documents that are taken out on this property are all invalid. Lavar min diyafkan bizimna hada, except for the one that was written now. So we'll write a document for him that says that all other ones are invalid. This is a document that's going to say that there's only one document that's valid, and that's the one that was written in this date. That would resolve being having a copy that's going to be in circulation. That's a simple solution. So the Gemara says the fact that we didn't say that is Amru Rabbanan Kameder Rav Papa. The sages said to Rav Papa, Varmila Kameder Rav Ashi. Some say that they said it to Rav Ashi. Zayse Meres, you know what this tells us? Ein kais from shaver. That we don't write receipts because we don't think it's right that the seller that's already gotten rid of the property should now have to hold a receipt. He has to worry about keeping this receipt so that the person doesn't show up. Why are you putting that strain on the seller when he sold the property, he's finished with it, and now he has to hold a receipt? The purchaser has to hold a receipt. Someone may claim that it's not his, whatever he wants to he wants his guarantee. But the seller should now have to hold a receipt forever because maybe the purchaser is going to come back. That's too much of a in case from shaver. We don't write the receipts. Now this is a machlekes if we write receipts. We had discussions before about if someone pays up half a loan We write a receipt for that half. We give it to a third party and hold the third party. We tell the third party to hold the promissory note, or do we write a receipt? It's machlekes if about writing receipts. Anyway, over here we see that we don't write receipts. The Gemara says, Amar lahu, so whoever it was, Rav Ashi or Rav Papa, he says, Bialma kaisim shaver. No, it's not a proof. The truth is that it could be in other cases of debts, or there's a promissory note that was partially paid, and so we'll write a receipt that part of it was paid, and and this who would have to hold on to that receipt? The borrower to hold on to that receipt that it was partially paid. Really, we do write it. But the reason over here why we're not going to write a receipt like that for the seller is because it's possible that a lot of this interaction can go on and the seller won't even be there to show his receipt, because it's going on between one purchaser and another purchaser. And the receipt is going to be held by the seller. So it goes like this. The Dilma, because possibly the creditor that's coming to confiscate the property is going to come. He's going to take it from the purchaser. And the purchaser that we're talking about that has lost his document, that's got a second document now. He's going to go and confiscate it from one of the other purchasers. My property was purchased first, and now I just lost it, and there's a lien on it. So I get to take your property because your property was in the hands of the seller when mine was purchased. So there's a lien on your property now. So he goes and takes the property. Now, then he goes to another one and he takes another property because he has two receipts, right? Remember he has two documents. That was our concern. And the receipt that says that only one of these documents is valid, that's not by the lekuchas. That's not by the purchaser. That's by the seller.
How does it help if the seller sells it to multiple people that he holds the paper? Like, he's not going to increment.
No, the seller's not selling one property to multiple people. The seller is selling multiple properties to multiple people. One of those properties has two documents on it. So when it gets confiscated, gets repossessed by a creditor, he goes to one of the other purchasers and he says that my property was repossessed and I'm going to take your property now. And you go back and claim from the seller that there was a lien on your property and it got taken away. In order for him to do that, he has to give one of the documents of the property that was confiscated. He gives him one document. Then he goes to another one. He has a second document, right? He says, my property was taken away. We said that he waited a few years in the middle so that they don't show up in Bezdin at the same time. But he goes to the next one and he says, my property was taken away. Here's the deed. Go and get your money. I'm taking yours. So, and we're saying now that, the seller is going to have a receipt that says that only one of these documents is valid. So he said, but the seller has that, but the purchasers don't have that. So the Gemara says, but so what? Do the purchasers not go back to the seller and complain? They're going to come back and complain. Give me the money. You say you sold me a property that you didn't have free title, right? It was Gemara says, well, by that time, the one that had the two documents has already eaten produce from both of those fields, and only one of them was really his. And then you're going to try to claim it back, that you want to assume he's stand in line type of thing. So you have to get that money back. That's going to be very tough, Yeah. Hills bring up, what about Bikurim? If it's not his land and he ate the fruits, and another sugya. Okay. What about saying brachas on all the food? Forgot about that. Are you allowed to say a bracha if the property wasn't yours and the fruit? Okay. So Inami, Another problem could be could be that one of the purchasers bought the property with no guarantee, and he can't even go back to the original owner, and now it just got confiscated. So the original owner that has a document, a receipt that says, seller that has a receipt that says that only one of these documents is valid, is never going to end up seeing that the second document is being used. Because when the person loses it, he doesn't go back to complain. He bought it without a achrayas. He just takes it as his own loss. He didn't have a guarantee. Right? He also, because he feels like a fool that he didn't buy insurance. He didn't, so he doesn't want to go back and talk about it. Right? Title insurance.
Rabbi, would it come to play here, like the price that he paid? For example, like if it's something that is not insurable, it's usually like a lesser price.
Right. That's probably what happened.
So let's say that he paid full price thinking it's like
Thinking it is insured. That's the discussion coming up. Yeah. Remember, we had a discussion about achrayas ta seifa. Is if it doesn't say a guarantee, is it a mistake or is that the way it is? Okay, the Gemara now says, Yachi Shtari Alvan Nami. Why Rav Ashi was saying, or Rav Papa was saying, that we just decided that even though in certain cases we won't write a receipt, but normally we would write a receipt in the case of a borrower. So we have the same problem with the borrower, that by the borrower, if we're going to write a receipt, if there were two documents, we said by Yashtari Halva we don't write a second document at all. We're just asking, why do we write a receipt by a there's a possibility that maybe the creditor is going to show up and confiscate property from a purchaser of the borrower, right? Confiscate property, and you have the same problems of maybe the borrower isn't going to go back to the maybe the purchaser isn't going to go back to the borrower in enough time to stop the guy that just confiscated the property from eating the fruits, and also to maybe there was no maybe he purchased it without achrayas. When you're writing that receipt for him, when you write a receipt for a borrower that half the loan is paid, who do you give it to? You give it to the borrower. You don't give it to his purchasers. And we just came up with the problem. Hey, we just came up with the problem that because the confiscation is the repossessing of the property is going to the purchaser, not to the original, not to the borrower. And in the interim, he's going to end up losing money. And we said that was a problem. That's the case. So we have a problem here as well. Even by a loan. The Gemara says, Hassam, the Zuzi Masik over there, when it comes to a loan, you don't just give a property right away. Amri Paisi Balchayev Bezuzi. Let me go get money from the from the borrower. But Hacha, the Aramasik, made the Yada demand the Masik Ara Bezuzi Lemapayas. See, over here, he purchased land and he wants a new property. I can't just pay him off. We have here two cases. One was the case where a person bought a property, but it got repossessed. So he goes to one of the other purchasers of property from the same person, from the same seller, and he takes his property. The guy doesn't think that I could just pay him money. He says he wants a property. No, there is a problem with ribbis. You have to get around the ribbis problem. You have to write a heteriska. Yeah, you have to figure that out. Yeah. On the other hand, when there was a loan and someone's coming in to get paid for his loan and he's repossessing property, I'm going to move it over. So then the guy thinks that I don't have to give him property. I can give him money. So give him money. Let me go back and talk to the borrower and see if I can get some money to give them before I. Oh, you're going to go to the bar. You're going to find out that it was really a receipt that he already half was paid. So there's going to be a connection there. When it was just confiscating property, maybe the property is going to disappear without the seller knowing, without his interaction. Over here, when there's a loan, he's going to go back and just try to get cash, and that he's going to talk to the borrower. Yeah. Amar Mar. It's one of the things we said before is when you write a second document for a sale because the first person lost his first document, he wants a certified copy. So you don't write in the new document. You don't write a lien. You don't write that there's a guarantee. You just write that this property was sold to the new person, but you don't write that there's a title guarantee that if anyone confiscates this property, he can go back and take again, because it's a second document, right? In the second document, we were concerned that the first one may surface and then he may go back twice.
Does it make a difference if the first seller has a deed when he's selling it? When the seller's selling it to the buyer, if he has his deed, does it make a difference? So it's more clear for that second.
If he has the deed, he gives the deed to the.
Let's say you have a property with a deed, and you're going to sell it. You have your original deed. Is that going to help the case when you're sale to be clear?
Yeah. Then I sell it to this guy, and he says he gave me the deed. Thank you, but I lost it. I need a new one. So we're writing him a new one now. Now, in that new one, we don't put in that there's a guarantee that he can come back and say that someone came and confiscated the property he needs, because the first one may show up, and then he'll do that twice. So we don't put that in the second one. So the Gemara asks,
it's a copy, but yours, one that you're holding, since you never lost it, yours is like good.
That's good. Yeah. That's a full one. It says there's a chayes in it. There's title. Yeah. So, Heichi Kasvinan, what do you write in this new document that you don't put in the achrayas? The Gemara says, Amar Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says, the Kasvi Hachi. They write the following: Shtara Dinan. This document, the Leila Migveve, should not be used to collect. Not from the seller, not from sold property that the seller sold. Not from property that's clean that he still has. All it is that if someone says that you never bought this property is mine, it says no, the property is the purchaser's. All it does is say that you bought it, but you can't use it to confiscate anything else. It's just if you end up in court, this is a proof that it's yours. Yeah. Well, okay. Amar Rafram. Rafram says, the fact that you have to write that into the document, this tells me achrayas to a sefer. If you didn't write that this property is guaranteed, then I would assume that it actually is guaranteed, even though it wasn't written. And so if you want to say that it's not guaranteed, then you have to actually write that it is not guaranteed. Because if you just leave it blank, then we assume that it is guaranteed, even though it didn't say that. Now that's the expression of achrayas to a sefer. If it doesn't say guaranteed, that's a mistake of the scribe, but we assume that it's really meant to be there. Yeah, but we're talking about a place where there's no custom. What do we assume? So, because what's the reason? The custom lahachi. The reason why there's no guarantee in this document is because you had to write clearly. You have to spell it out. There's no guarantee. But if you need to write that kavi, then he would be able to use this document to collect. Ravashi says no. Achrayas lavta sefer. Achrayas, the guarantee that's put in the document, if it's not there, then it's not there. We didn't write it for a reason. So what is it? What did we say that when you write the second document, the certified copy, you leave out the guarantee? The like you actually just don't write it. Just don't write that guarantee, and that's automatic that there's no guarantee. You don't have to write. There is no guarantee. Who it's it was a person, a woman. She gave money to a fellow to go purchase the land for her. He ended up buying the land without any guarantee. No refund. No, right? Can't go back and complain and get a new one if someone takes it away. Asila Kameder Rav Nachman, they come to Rav Nachman Amalei. Rav Nachman says that the woman can say, I sent you to be you're my messenger. You were meant to do something positive for me, not to do something negative. Now you ended up buying a field that you basically threw my money out. Who knows what could happen? Yeah. So Zil, Zavna Mineshle Bachrayas, buy it back from her, tells the messenger. Buy it back from her without a guarantee. In other words, you buy it back, and she has no obligation to guarantee if anyone confiscates it from you. And then sell it to the woman back with a guarantee. To fix up the what he did wrong. Yeah. Now it's guaranteed by the shliach that to buy it back without a guarantee and sell it, which means basically he's taking responsibility for it.
So what do you have to go up through the thing that you say?
Just guarantee it now.
Guarantee it.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility.
Yeah, because he wasn't the seller. He was just the middleman. The middleman bought it from the seller without a guarantee. The middleman was responsible because he
doesn't have a
caused damage.
responsibility to buy it with a guarantee.
Now,
How do you get the seller to buy it back?
not the seller. You get the middleman to buy it from the purchaser and then sell it back to the purchaser with a guarantee.
How do you sell it back?
No, where the court is telling him that that's what he has to do. I thought that this Gemara was going to end differently.
No, the buyer sold it already.
No. Hillel has a property, and I ask you to go buy the property. You go and you buy it, and you don't put in the document that there's a guarantee on it. So I end up with this property that anyone can come and take it away. So you have an obligation to buy the property from me, sell it back to me with a guarantee.
Does he have an obligation to buy the property with a guarantee?
Yeah,
for his lady.
Yeah, because that was the assumed.
That I see it's assumed, but in reality that's the law.
Oh, I don't know. That's what it seems.
So that means that it's a woman's responsibility to find a good shliach that's going to buy it with a guarantee.
I thought that this Gemara was going to end differently. I thought the Gemara was going to end by saying that the whole sale is invalid, because how does a shliach do something that so the whole thing should be invalid, right? Why? How did the sale even go through? The buyer can say that he's not my shliach once you violated the mission. You're not my shliach.
It's not the seller's responsibility
because she didn't give him.
But then, so why does he have the obligation to fix it?
Because that's the normal.
but it's assumed
Because here's
So if it's the normal for, I know, but if it's normal for the sale to be valid, if it's normal enough for the sale to be valid, why isn't that normal enough?
But it's normal for it to be a warranty.
So then why was the sale valid? It wasn't the purchaser that did it. It was the shliach. If a shliach messes up, the mishaleach, the sender, can always say, you're not my shliach anymore. I sent you to do good, not to do that.
Could you explain his guarantee again? So it means somebody else comes and confiscates.
Yeah,
By
if someone
force?
repossesses the property because of a lien or something like that, or maybe he says that the property was never really the seller, so you can go back to the seller and get your money back. You get another property.
That's like title insurance, kind of.
Title insurance, right?
why the lady's not responsible. Because
So the
she's not
lady,
responsible.
the lady's not responsible. But why is the whole sale valid? The shliach doesn't do what he's supposed to.
Must have not been written in there. There's
Well, he just didn't get the title insurance, the sale. He still got the property, just didn't get it in the best possible way.
Even when you use a shliach, you're supposed to. If the shliach doesn't do what he's supposed to do, he becomes not. It becomes. It wasn't a messenger anymore.
But with Akrayas, it doesn't matter whether he specifies it or not. It comes with it. It doesn't matter whether he did his job right or not. The result's going to be the same.
This is following Rav Ashi that says Achrayas Lavta. Yeah, it's the other. This is the other opinion.
that it wasn't added in.
It's not the assumed.
What am I looking at? Amalei.
She's not assumed.
Right,
That's why it was valid.
but because it wasn't written in there.
Yeah, but then that kind of goes with the idea that it's not essential.
They asked this question over here. The following difficulty must be addressed. Since the man was appointed by the woman to be her agent in making this purchase, and he did not fulfill his mission, I sent you to benefit me, not to harm me. The agency, therefore, the purchase itself should be null and void. The land thus never left the ownership of the seller. The agent should return the woman's money to her. Why then did Rav Nachman rule otherwise? Yeah, that's a question, right? Barsha Kivanti. Okay, so the Rush says, they bring the Rush, another Rishonim. Indeed, the sale was void. However, the agent did not have any funds with which to reimburse the woman. He could not retrieve the payment he had made to the seller. Therefore, he must buy the land. Okay, interesting. They say see Rashbam. I didn't see that in Rashbam. Okay. Other Rishonim answer that we refer to a case in which the agent never told the seller that he was buying a field on behalf of the woman. Hence, the seller thought he was selling the field, the agent himself. And thus, as far as he is concerned, the sale is valid. But from the woman's perspective, the sale never took effect. Therefore, she can insist that the agent return her money to her and that he pay the field with his own money.
But he doesn't have.
And the field will belong to him.
Wouldn't there be an issue there with the name of the woman who deed? Because if he bought this property, there has to be people that says, oh, this person bought the property. But if he put his.
Maybe what he's saying is that the holder of this property, the holder of this document, is the new owner of the property. I don't know. Rav Nachman was merely suggesting that if one wants land, okay, interesting, yeah. So that's it. The issue that we brought up is a real issue. Okay. Rab Shimon ben Gamliel Eimer Neis Matan Lachavei V'Yitzu Le'Yisar Chayzer Matanasi V'Chamim Matanasi comes in the brisa that we said before, that if someone gives a gift to his friend, he gives him a property, and he gives him a document, but then the recipient gives the document back, then the entire gift is given back. Nacham say no. Say no. The gift is still a gift. You gave back the document. I don't know what that means, but you didn't give back the gift. My time with Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. What's the reason of Reb Shimon ben Gamliel that you hand the document back, the gift goes back? Rav Asi says, so like he told him that this field is yours as long as you're holding the document. There's probably things like that today. That if you have the document, then it's yours. You don't have the document, it's not yours. Yeah, it doesn't. Like,
File everything.
uh-huh.
It's like a get. If you don't have the get, then it's sorry,
I think it's like the Cabbage Patch dolls. They have to have that birth certificate.
how you live. Unless I ordered it.
Right.
Yeah, that-
What was that?
Paid $6 million for the banana duct tape to the wall.
Oh, really?
But the certificate was the thing everybody.
Oh.
He ended up with the banana.
Oh.
That was another piece of art. $6 million.
Uh-huh.
An exhibit, not an art.
Okay.
It shows everything about that art.
Shows about everything about
So, Maskefla Rava. Rabba has a question on what Ravasi said. So what do you mean? If someone steals the document, that means they steal the property? That means that the property is theirs now? It just transfers whoever gets the document? Rabba says no. There's a discussion about how a document is sold. Is it just handed over and that's it? Document. Or do you have to write a second document about this document? Shimon Gamliel holds that a document is transferred by just transferring it. Just hand it over. Rabbanan Sabri and that the Rabbanan are saying is that no, that you have to write another document to acquire this document, or you have to do a chazaka.
On the land.
Yeah.
So giving back the document.
So the giving back the
zero.
document may be giving back, would actually be giving back.
Then
No,
you have
it's
to
only
write
when
a
you
second
it's
one.
only when we're talking about that the person has intent to give back the property, and that would work when he gives back the document. And the Chachamim say that when you give back the document, you didn't give back the property, because documents are not transferred just by handing it.
But to a new person, it's different.
I'm not sure about that. I think even to a new person, you would be able to hand the document. According to Reb Shimon ben Gamliel, yeah. Taner Rabbanan was taught in a brayso. Habal lidan b'shtar b'chazaka. If someone could be the case could be judged either with a document or with chazaka. Nidan b'shtar. Rebbe says that the document is the way we judge it. We're going to see exactly several ways of how to learn this brayso. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel and Rav Chazaka. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says that we judge it with that we will rule the case over the chazaka. The Micah Mifgi, what are we talking about? What's the case exactly? Kasser Rav Dimi Amar Baisis Niklam b'Masira Kamifgi. Rav Dimi says that we're talking about Isis Niklas b'Masira. That's what we're talking. So, which means like this: that Levi sold the property to Shimon, and he gave him a document. When Shimon sold the property to Ruvain, so Ruvain ends up with the document that Levi gave to Shimon. He ends up with that document, and now that's his property. Someone comes in and wants to confiscate that property. He says that the property is mine or whatever. So Reuben says, "No, I have a document. I got it from him. This is the document. I got it. It doesn't say my name in it, but that's good enough because I have that document." Shimon ben Gamliel says, "It's not the case. You can't transfer the property. You can't transfer ownership just with handing over someone else's document." Okay. So we have machlekes here between Rav Shimon ben Gamliel in this brayso. Well, 1 second. Rebbe said that the property became Reuven's by handing over the document. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says no.
There's also a big problem for the guarantees as well. Don't put down people's name.
Yeah. Well, according to Rav Shimon ben Gamliel, you're going to need to use a chazaka. I'm going to need witnesses to say that you were in the property for 3 years, and that's going to be
transferring over without putting the name.
It's not going to work according to Rav Shimon ben Gamliel.
Because there's also no guarantee.
I think there would be a guarantee according to Rebbe that says that it's transferred. The Gemara asks, 1 second. I'm sorry. Rebbe holds that transferring the document is considered transferring the field and transferring ownership. That's how it works. Abaya says, Im Kain plukta lidamar. You have a problem here, Rav Dimi. Rav Dimi was a traveler. He brings this brayso. He explains the brayso that Rav Shimon ben Gamliel holds that ein oisius niknas b'masira, that a transfer of a document doesn't work with just transferring it, just with passing it over. The problem is because we had a machlekes before with Rav Shimon ben Gamliel and the Rabbanan, and Rabbah, in explaining that machlekes, said Rav Shimon ben Gamliel holds that you can transfer property with just transferring. You can transfer a document just by handing it over. And now Rav Dimi is saying Rav Shimon ben Gamliel holds based on another brisa that you can't transfer the document. So he says, Abaya says, you're arguing on the master, on Rabbah. So Abaya is a student of Rabbah. Amalei, V'tiflik, he says, so what? I'm arguing on Rabbah, big deal. Rav Dimi was a student of Rabbi Yochanan. Abaya is a student of Rabbah. He says, sorry. Amalei,
Maybe it's both.
it can't be, it's a contradiction. It's a, if
Two parts.
If Rav Shimon ben Gamliel holds Isis Niklas ben Masir, then he can't hold Ein Isis Niklas ben Masir. Right? There were two brises. Rabbah explained one that Rav Shimon ben Gamliel holds Isis Niklas ben Masir. There's another brisa where Rav Dimi explains it. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel holds Isis Niklas ben Masir. So Amalei, so Abaya says, no, you're not getting it. What I mean to tell you is Masnisin lemetartzel kmetartzel demar, kmetartzel mar. You're going to be stuck with a brisa that's not explained because Rabbah explained it, and that was the only way to explain it. Either way, you're going to have a question, a contradiction with Rav Shimon ben Gamliel and Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. Ella Amar Abaya, rather Abaya says, what we're feeling here is in this case, when Rav Shimon ben Gamliel is arguing with Rebbe, they're talking about where they have a document, that in the document, they have two options. Either they could judge the case based on the document. The problem is in the document, one of the witnesses is a relative or not a valid witness. Or they can judge it with witnesses that he had chazakah. Rebbe says, let's use the document that doesn't have proper witnesses. And Rav Shimon ben Gamliel says, let's use the document that has the chazakah. Let's go by the witnesses that testify to the chazakah. So, and this is an old machlekes. This is a machlekes between Reb Meir and Reb Elazar, because Rebbe savar ke Reb Elazar. Rebbe holds like Reb Elazar damrei de mesira kart. We had a machlekes in Gittin. When the Torah says the kasavla, that you have to write a divorce document for the woman. When it says to write the document, is it referring to writing the document? Or is it referring to the signing of the signatures? Rabbi Elazar holds that it's referring to the writing of the document, not the signing of the signatures. Rabbi Meir says, no, when it says you write for her a document, when it says write, well, that's what witnesses do. They sign. It's referring to the signatures, the witness's signature. According to Rabbi Elazar, it's referring to the scribe's writing. According to Rabbi Meir, it's referring to the witness's signatures. Well, now what comes out is, if the Torah is referring to the scribe writing, then really the document is valid without signatures, without witnesses. But I need witnesses. Yeah, the witnesses on the delivery of the get, not on the writing of the get. You have other types of witnesses. The Mesira Karti, the ones that cause the divorce are the ones that are witnessing the handing over of the get, not the ones that sign on it. So if that's the case, here we have a document. I know some of the witnesses are not good, but so what? The witnesses don't matter. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel savar la Reb Meir. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel holds like Reb Meir. Damrei de chasima karti. No, you have to go by the witnesses, and the witnesses here aren't good. Therefore, your document is invalid. So how are you going to adjudicate this case? Well, you do it with the chazaka witnesses of the chazaka,
Which would be the same problem if it's not valid witnesses.
Yeah. Amar Rababa, 1 second. What are you telling me? You're telling me that Rebbe holds like Rabbi Elazar and documents with invalid witnesses is still acceptable? Rababa said, Rabbi Elazar only said that you don't need witnesses. But if you have witnesses that are invalid, then the document is invalid. In other words, no witnesses are better than bad witnesses. That's basically what Rababa said. Rabbi Elazar will accept the document without witnesses, but not if they're invalid. So how could Rebbe say that we're going to use a document with invalid witnesses? Elamar Rabavina. Rabavina says, "Akol maidim shem kasabay huskaknu leidusim shaleidas v'nimtzei dusim mizyev shupasel." To the Rababa, everyone would agree that if we would have to come on to the testimony of witnesses that are invalid, that are forged, that is possible, like Rababa says, that we're not discussing. We're talking about a document that doesn't have any witnesses. The Rebbe Savala Rabbi Elazar the Mesira Karti. Rebbe Elazar Rabbi Elazar that says we don't need witnesses. we don't need witnesses on the document. And Reb Shimon ben Gamliel said, Reb Meir, that you do need witnesses on the document. If you don't have witnesses on the document, then we'll have to judge this case by how long were you there? Do you have witnesses that you lived there? And then we'll do it like that. Iba Yesema, we can explain this machlekes a little different. What's happening over here is that I have a document that the purchaser is taking out and saying that I bought this field. And he also lived there for 3 years. But the document says that he bought the field. Now, the seller of the seller says, 1 second, I know I wrote that document, but I never gave it to you. I didn't sell I had the document written. I agree that the document was written, but we never went through with the deal. And somehow you got a hold of the document. So he contests the story, but he admits to the document. Now, when you have a document that's not validated, we have a document that's validated, so then it's contest. I have the document. That's the reason why we write documents, so that you can't contest. So the document should work. But here I have a document that's only valid because the seller admitted that it's valid. So maybe I should have a pesha aser. How did you get this document valid? I said it's valid. Well, I'm telling you also, pesha aser, the one that says that it's valid, also says that it's not valid.
That's not how pesha works.
I reversed it.
Yeah.
But if you trust me for this, then you have to trust me for the other thing. That's it. Oh, so it goes like this. The Rebbe says that once he admitted that the document is good, we don't need to validate it any other way. The document is considered valid, and we can go by that document. He told me it's good. That's it. End of case. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says, no, we're trying to rely on him that's telling you the document is good. He's telling you that the whole sale never took place. You have to go validate the document. So therefore, it's better for us to get witnesses that you lived there. He said he really lived there, so get the witnesses that you lived there for 3 years. The Gemara says, 1 second, how could you say this? We have exactly the opposite machlekes, where Rebbe doesn't hold of this. We're going to quote a Mishnah and a Gemara and this, but at the end of this, we're going to say that Rebbe holds the opposite. So the Tanya was taught in the Brisa. 2 people are holding on to a document. They're like schlepping it. They're arguing over this. The lender says, the document's mine. It's a promissory note. And in it, it says that Shimon owes Ruvain $100. Enough only many. The enough many matzasei. I dropped it and you picked it up and you're a cheater. But the document is still mine. You never paid me back. Loivaimar, Shimon says that Shalchahu, it was yours, but upratila, I got it when I paid you back. Rebbe says that you validate the document. What does that mean? That you have to be Mekayim Shtar, the opposite of what Rebbe said before, of Ein Tzarech L'Kayim. Here we're saying that once you validate the document, see, because the borrower is saying, yes, it was a valid document, but I paid you back. So he's agreeing that it's valid, but I paid you back. So Rebbe says that once you validate the document, then what are we going to do? We're going to give it to the lender.
Well, but validating a document doesn't tell you whether something was paid back or not paid back. It only tells you that you can't say there was never
exactly
a loan. That's all it tells you.
Exactly. Wait a few lines.
Okay.
Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says, well, we have to divide it. Just like Shnai Meichs and Batalis. 2 people holding on to a document. We don't know who the owner is. They split it. We asked about it. But Leslie Rebbe had the what's Rebbe saying? Doesn't he know that there's a Mishnah? 2 people holding on to something, arguing over it. We divide it. 2 people holding on to a document is the same like holding on to a talis. Amar Rav Nachman. Rava says name of Nachman. If the document would be a validated document, means like notarized, then the Kuli Amalek Fligidech, like everyone would agree that you have to divide it. That means that he's only going to have to pay him half the debt. Ki Pligi B'Shenim Makuyim. Machlekes here is when the document is not notarized. It's not. It doesn't have a handpick on it. Rebbe Savar, Rebbe holds that just because the loiva agreed that the document is valid, that doesn't mean that automatically the lender can collect that. And if you'll validate it, gavi palga, then you'll be able to use it to collect. So even in order to collect half, because why are you thinking that it's valid? Because I said it's valid. I say that I pay the whole thing. So even in order to get, even to collect half, that's what we're trying to get. The Rebbe holds that you can only collect half because even to collect half, you still have to validate it, which is exactly the opposite of what we said on top. We are, if Maida B'Shtar Shekasva, Rebbe said, Ein Tzarech L'Kaimer. Here we're saying Maida B'Shtar Shekasva, Tzarech L'Kaimer. That's our first question. But if you don't validate it, Chas B'Valmo, then the document is considered like clay shards. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel Savar, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says, Maida B'Shtar Shekasva, Ein Tzarech L'Kaimer. He says no, that you don't have to validate it. The borrower told me that it's good. So the Gemara says if that's the case, then what we're going to have to do is Eipach. We're going to have to switch around the names. If we had a contradiction, we'll switch around the names. Like, let me try to finish the Gemara till the Mishnah. So we don't go over it. Iba Yasema, if you want, I could say Leilam like Eipach. You don't have to switch the names around. Here, a very interesting discussion. If someone says too much in court, they make a claim that's not necessary. They didn't have to say that. Can the court start getting into that? Or can you say, well, why are you getting into it? It's not necessary. I didn't even need that. So the guy says that I have a document, but I also have witnesses for chazaka. So Kihad Reb Yitzchak Bar Yosef have a masik beYezuzei Reb Abba. Reb Yitzchak Bar Yosef lent money to Reb Abba. Also, the Reb Yitzchak Nafka. They came to Reb Yitzchak Nafka. Amar. Reb Abba says, I paid you back. Okay. Amalei Reb Yitzchak says, you paid back in front of two people, let them come and testify. Amalei, he says, 1 second. Why do they have to come? If they come, I'm not believed. But he didn't have a document that he lent me. He lent me with witnesses. But the rule is, if you lend with witnesses, you don't have to pay back with witnesses. I have to pay back with witnesses. Now you're demanding that the witnesses show up. I didn't have to do that. It happens to be that they were. Now you're demanding that this. Amalei says, look at this. I actually hold like you. He's telling Rababa. I heard this halacha from you. Because you said in the name of Rabba, the name of Rab. If you added in something that wasn't necessary in your claim, you could have just said I paid back. But no, you added in I paid back in front of so and so and so and so. They have to come in. So that extra detail is going to be used to verify.
So he didn't know what he said.
Amalei, he says V'amar Rav Gidl Amar Rav. He responded, but Rav Gidl said in the name of Rav Halachik Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. That the halacha goes the other way. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. But Rebbe Layamar, and even Rebbe never argued him. This is only something that the Bezdin is allowed to do if they want to clarify. It's not that it's going to change the halacha. He says, I'm also just clarifying. I'm doing my homework. It's not because I'm going to change the halacha, but you mentioned it. Let's make sure that this is valid. Okay. Leave it over here.
It's convenient.
We're a half a daf ahead, yeah.
Wow.
No.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah. And Baruch Hashem.
Cool.
Okay.
Good.